Hey everybody! Today we have a very special projector. This is the Optoma CinemaX P2. This is an ultra short throw projector. This is a successor to the P1. We have one, we've taken a look at it, we're going to talk about it. Let's do that now. Great, so we are back. Optoma has so graciously sent us over a demo unit for us to take a look at. This has been a hard unit to get, as many of you know. It's been on back order pretty much everywhere, very limited stock. And now that it's starting to become a little bit more available, they have one to ship over. And so we're going to go through the paces, take a look at it. I do want to start off by just a little caveat. Our offices here are not entirely 100% open. So we're trying to get you this information, but we don't have access to everything we normally do, like a screen. So in this case, we're actually shooting it directly onto the wall, which is probably not ideal for a demo, but we want to give that to you up front. Having said that, it looks pretty amazing, even on these walls, which are kind of, let's just say, not perfectly smooth or perfectly straight. So when you look at the footage, just keep that in mind. Despite all the weird defects of the wall, this looks amazing. So if you have a wall at home and you don't want to initially get a screen, you're going to be blown away by how well this looks on the screen or on your wall, the surface. And then when you have a screen, it's just going to look that much better. So let's talk a little bit about the specs. Now we've got that out of the way. Pretty similar to the P1 in many ways, except for the first feature, which you see right away, it's white. Okay, so it does still have this nice, beautiful gray, kind of knitted tight mesh cover, which is where the speakers are, the new 4 speakers. It's a 40-watt speaker system, Dolby 2.0. It's got the woofers, it's got the chambers. It sounds really good. If you've ever had a projector before, you know how horrible, even with like a 10 or 20-watt speaker system and your speakers, it's not great. It's almost worse than a TV set. This is really good. It's almost like a sound bar. Fantastic. And of course you have audio out, so you can, if you have a surround sound system, you can do all that stuff. But just want to let you know. And there are also some cool little feature settings that allow you to adjust kind of the effects around that, just like you would on a home receiver. So you have some that have a little bit more reverb for action movies, drama. It's probably a little tighter around the voice. So it's pretty neat as far as the sound goes. This can sit perfectly on top of your cabinet, your curio, wherever you're going to position it, but it does need to be very close to the wall. When I say close to the wall, 8 to 16 inches tops. So the closer it is to the wall, the smaller the image. The max image you're going to get out of this, max usable image, best image, 120 inches. You can get bigger than that, but you are going to start to get a little blurry around the edges. It's just how ultra short throws are. That being said, the image quality at 100, 120 inches is phenomenal. This is very sharp. It's 4K. It's using the same DLP technology that the other Optoma 4K units use, and it is really nice. There are some other features that have been updated in this model. The previous P1 was a 8-segment or an RGB-Y color wheel. So it had all 4 colors. This is an RGB 6-segment color wheel, and as a result, the color on this is just amazing. The really saturated, not overly saturated, and it's got better contrast. In fact, it's got a pretty significant increase from the previous model, which is 2 million to 1. We're just kind of talking things, but when you look at it, you're going to say, wow, that looks incredibly deep. When we were looking at the nature videos, there was just a depth of field there with the 4K and that contrast and the color that I don't typically see in a lot of other projectors, and that's not hyperbole. That's really just what we saw. It's a fantastic looking model. And because it's so close to the wall, 3,000 lumens, super bright. Okay, 3,000 lumens 15 feet away from your wall, different story. Right next to your wall, very bright image. If you combine this with like a Screen Innovations or Elite ambient light rejection screen that can offset some of that side light or the top light, it's going to look like you have an 85 to 120 inch plasma screen TV sitting in your living room. And here's another cool feature. This projector, when you're not watching movies, they have engaged with, I think it's 10 to a dozen artists to create some really high, cool art that you can use and basically make, instead of having a black screen or a white screen hanging on your wall, you can have a huge piece of wall art with this, and it's going to look amazing. Outside of that, the specs have not changed a whole lot. Like I said, the RGB color wheel is the big one. It does have 120% of Rec. 709 color space, so it is an improved color space. The colors look fantastic, whether you're watching people, nature scenes, water, whatever it is, fast motion. There is a fast motion mode in here to kind of blur out, or not blur out, but to smooth out the motion for like sports scenes or Blu-rays, action movies where there's a lot of high motion. You don't get that weird jittery effect. So that is built in here. Of course, it's HDR10. And the HDR is really going to shine on this model because of how bright it is and how close it is to the wall. You're really going to get that big contrast there. Let's talk about what else. It is a DLP. I just do want to bring that up. So if you are super sensitive, we did see once in a few spots some rainbow effects. They were pretty mild, and it was really only in the dark black and white scenes. When there was color or motion on the screen, didn't really happen at all. So that's really great, and most of the time that's what you're going to have. So most people are not sensitive to it, but for those that are, it's going to be a question that I wanted to answer. Also, this has a dedicated gaming mode. So the previous model was not really a great game or a projector for gamers. This in gaming mode takes the lag down to 50 milliseconds, which is still not like competitive level, but for most people it's going to be more than fine. You're going to be able to hit those shots and make those plays like you would expect, without that weird delay that would complicate things. So it's a great projector for gaming. It's a fantastic projector for sports, home entertainment. Of course, it's got built-in apps. You can stream from your phone or share from your phone rather. It's got a really cool feature that allows you to connect with your Google or your Alexa to talk. And in the morning, you can just say, hey, flip on my calendar. And with the app, it'll show what your day is scheduled for, what the weather is. Really cool stuff. Stuff like from Total Recall that we thought about 20 years ago would never happen. We have it here right in front of us, and this beautiful little unit that you can take home with you. Pretty much anyone can take home. So that is the model itself. Let's take a look at the back of it and the connections and go from there. Great, so now we are on the back of the unit, and here's your connections. So starting left to right, we have your USB. This is your media player. So if you had like a Roku or something like that, or your streaming stick, plug that in there, connect it with your HDMI. You have two HDMI 2.0s, these are 4K inputs. You have your optical out. You have your RJ45 for your controls. You have a dedicated audio out if you want to run that, and you have your USB service port for firmware upgrades, things like that. And then over here, we've got a couple extra connections. This is a standard USB 2.0 or standard HDMI port. This is not a 4K port. And over here you have another USB port. Okay, so that's all there is to it. There's no VGAs, no computer connections, anything like that. This is really built for the home, but it could very well be used in a business or for digital signage. Your small business or your photographers would be great with this. One thing I did not mention is that, of course, this is a laser light source. That means you're going to get up to 30,000 hours of use out of this projector. 30,000 hours, what does that mean to you guys? Probably 6 or 7 years of use before you ever have to worry about heavy use, before you have to worry about doing anything with the light engine. So that's a long time. That's fantastic.